This Hollow team is absolutely broken. The amount of summons that I can get is insane. Now, currently I am on rank bear 1 and I will have to do this video from replays because the unfortunate thing is that if you don't find a match within a certain amount of time, then you will be matched versus a bot, right? So you can see that I've played many games versus this bot, but there's also a couple versus normal guys. So we'll be now watching those and let's see how that ends up. The first game that we are facing a double Aqua with double Koi and a back lane Reptile. Interesting team. I like the Crocs. Honestly, a big fan of the Croc, hence why I bought this plant right here, because Croc gives you a bleed if someone attacks into you. And then the front lane I went for a post fight just to have a little bit of extra damage. My opponent going for the Scaly, the Soul Star just to finish me off, and the respawns from the runes, alright. 4% of max HP at the end of your turn. I have 2 of those as well. Getting a Clover around 1 is always beneficial because you get that leaf, and once you get that leaf you can start regenerating throughout the match, so very easy round 1. And my opponent does get the Soul Star early on, which is not that good. Could go for an Scissor to try and bleed me, and that's exactly what he does. Bubble Maker, I honestly think Bubble is one of the strongest buffs that you can put on your Axies. Instead of going for the Bubble Bomb, you can just keep it on 2 bubbles, and every single card that your opponent attacks into you will be dealing 10 less damage. So keeping it on 2 stacks always beneficial. Now I'm going for quite a lot of damage. I do get the Hollow, I go for the attack, I get the Beach, I get the Carrot, plenty of damage in there, and also another tank, and I'm healing up from the rune but also from the leaves. So you can quickly see how this team is becoming very, very annoying. He had to use a Koi to clear my Hollow, and then he had to use an energy coin to use another Koi to attack my front lane plant. Now my front lane plant is getting a bit low. Leaf only heals you for 5 HP, and leftover heals you for, I think, 12 from the HP that I have on my current plants, right? So I do manage to clear that front lane Aqua finally, and then play the Hollow as well as a shield. I play Hollow from my back lane so we can see how that one heals up passively. I lose 70 health playing a Hollow, 75 HP playing a Hollow actually. So that heals up throughout the game if he doesn't have a backdoor to finish this Axie off, which they usually don't at this stage because no one was buying Axie specific for a backdoor. He has to use a lot of cards. You can see the Bleed, the Hollow. He has to use the Tiny Turtle, which he really doesn't wish he had to use on the trunk. But that's what I force you to do. Now I have another Hollow, I have a post fight, a Serious. Now the post fight is gonna deal plenty of damage. I use the Confusion and I can leave myself on just 5 health right here from using the post fight, and then use the Hollow to finish this Axie off. Actually it goes from the back lane again, so I didn't even have to finish this one off. So now I have 2 front lanes that are probably going to die, but he has to waste 2 cards on it, or at least 2 energy on those, and looks like he can't even do that because he only draws 1 attack card. He decides to discard that one, gets a Soul Star, uses that one again. Not the best of use of Soul Star, but what can you really do? Uses a Croc. And because I see this as a secret buff, I don't really want to attack into it, because getting a bleed on your Axies is very, very hard to deal with. Then that means that your Axie will be losing 50 HP for every card that it plays, and unfortunately I draw quite a lot of attack cards. And should I be attacking? It looks like my answer is yes. I go for the Beach just to give myself some extra shield. So now he has to clear the Clover, and he has to attack through my shield that I gained on the Beach. Now I believe my opponent is playing a Topaz as well, only dealing 85 damage so far because he hasn't banished that many cards, but I think Topaz can actually be good in many scenarios, especially maybe if you can get a healing mid lane Axie, get rid of as many banished cards as you can. We'll see who creates a very, very creative team around Topaz. I think there's definitely room to be working around in there. I play the Croc. I get plenty of shielding cards. You can see how much shield I can put up with these Axies. 220 shield from the Pumpkin, Hatsune, as well as the Croc. I still got a couple of secrets, so if he wants to attack, it's going to be very, very difficult for him to do that. He draws 2 Confused. He draws a Tiny Turtle, so he can attack my backlane and probably not even use the Pincer because there's no point for him to attack this 220 shield. Maybe I could have played one of those shields on the back lanes, just like you have seen he played the Tiny Turtle. That wouldn't have really affected me. Now I get to draw a Carrot, a Serious. Unfortunately the Serious doesn't one-shot, but with the fallen sword I actually can one-shot him. Then go for the carrot, and I can't play the rosebud because stunned means that you cannot use any abilities, which is absolutely broken at this point of the game. I think disarm, sleep and stun have to be changed in some sense, because they are just way too powerful. He applies a fear, he applies a bleed on himself because he attacked those secret cards. Hatsune applies a fear, Croc applies a bleed. Very powerful set of cards, and the pumpkin also gives me a card, which always helps to get that extra damage card. If I'm not lucky with the card draw, getting that one extra card does help. Using the Sirius to clear the trunk, Confusion to put him to 30 health, and then I should play the Clover as well just to get myself to 3 leaves, because with 3 leaves and this rune at the back lane I can easily 1v2. Like the amount of healing I get with the Rosebud as well, especially that I have a rune that increases my healing a little bit. Actually a charm rather than a rune that increases my healing by 6, I think. So that is beneficial. He plays 70 shield, but because he used the card he will die to the bleed, and now the Topaz is dealing 125 damage already, so that damage is increasing. 125 for 1 energy cost is quite a lot, but this should be an easy 1v1 to navigate. I do get a bunch of fallen cards, which is not the best. Get a Jinx in there as well. Use the 2 costs from the fallen cards just to deal as much damage as I can, because we are coming close to that turn 20, so if I can put him as low as I can, the Bloodmoon will finish him off. So this team is quite slow. The games take a while, but they are doing what they are supposed to do, which is winning games. He has to use 2 cards to clear that hollow at the front lane. Gets a bunch of confused as well, which he cannot play, so his deck is messed up. I mean, it's getting cleared now, but that draw sucked for him. I don't get a best of draws. I get a bunch of shield cards and a heal as well, so I'll play all of that. 140 shield, 306 health. Good luck breaking through that. I mean, what are you gonna do? Even with a Topaz, you're not gonna do that much. You can't really trigger your Sandal. You don't have a fear in the 185 already from the Topaz. I mean, that is getting to those scary numbers right now, right? You get a Topaz that hits for 200, you can finish that off with something else. Not in this case, because it can't really use anything else. But in a normal scenario, that should be quite a good setup with that Topaz. Confused and serious just to finish my opponent off, and that's how I win with this team. Simple, easy, spamming those hollows so that my opponent gets really annoyed, and then in the 1v1 ones I already have my heals stacked up. It's hard for them to break through, especially through the Pumpkin, Hatsune and the Rosebud. There's nothing that you can really do about that. Now in the second game we are facing a Plant, Dusk and a Beast at the back lane, but the Dusk in the middle lane actually has Kestrel and Tiny Turtle, and Rosa as well, which applies Sleep. All of these cards are very annoying to deal with because they pretty much disable your whole Axie. Going first, I think going first at this point of the game is always better. I go for the post fight just to lose a little bit of health, because I can heal that up through my rune if I play the hollow, and then play Hatsune on that hollow as well, and a Pumpkin, because why not? 140 shield on that hollow. Round 1, you already lost some health on your plan. How are you gonna deal with that hollow? Play Little Pass is the answer from my opponent, and Nutcrack, so those Nutcracks can start adding up. You can see that this Nutcrack deals a little bit more damage than the previous one. Previous one dealt 60, this one deals 66, and the next one will deal 72. It's increasing every time you can play it, so if you can draw your Nutcracks early on and cycle through your deck as quick as you can, those Nutcracks start to hurt. So he actually managed to clear that hollow. I didn't expect him to be able to do that, but he did surprisingly do it, especially that he had the energy coin to follow up. I played the Clover with Croc. If he wants to clear it, he will apply bleed to himself. That bleed will not do that much early game because he has the healing runes, but it's always a little bit of a nuisance to deal with. Goes for Pappy to heal up. Has the Tiny Turtle. We'll see whether he decides to use it. He does use it on my front lane Axie, so not clearing that Clover, and that Clover will explode. So maybe not the best use of the shield, because I can't really use it anymore. The reason I'm playing hollows at the back is that I have space on my front lane for the Clover, because Clover doesn't have taunts, so you have to play it front lane, whereas hollow does have taunts, so you can play it wherever you want to. I used the Blossom to draw a Sirius. That was a big misplay. I think I used Yeah, I used the Blossom to draw a series, which was on this plant that was disabled, so that was a misplay. Shouldn't really have done that. My opponent goes for Shiba to clear that hollow again, wasting so many cards, so much energy just to clear those taunts. Goes for the energy from an emo and then uses a series to deal as much damage on my front lane. It's down to 66 health, so not the best of situations, right? But I do get a good card draw, which is the cactus to break the shield, then a carrot just to get some extra energy in there, and then I can go for the beach or I can go for the shields, and I think shields is always the better answer in my team because the beach doesn't give me a kill, so what good does that do? Whereas if I play 140 shield, he has to use 3 cards to try and clear it. Which is not gonna be easy for him depending on the card draw. He does get a little branch and a Ronin, so that might definitely help. We'll see how much a Ronin does do in this instance. Might not be a kill, but might be a kill. Actually, he already used his energy, so I don't think he could have went for the Ronin, but maybe there was a chance for him to do that. Now it's already turn 9, we still haven't killed each other's plants, but that is actually beneficial for me because as long as I can play a Clover, and this is a big misplay, let's talk about that. I should have played the Hollow at the back and the Clover at the front because for the reason that I mentioned previously, Clover doesn't have a ton, so it's pretty much useless at the back unless it just dies the next round and my opponent doesn't do much about it, but it's just those little things. Clover being played at the front it's how it should be played. Getting those leaves stacked up, and my opponent will be hurting from that because late game, if I get 3 leaves in here by the time we go into a 1v1 scenario, then I'm really unkillable at the back lane. Like he has to get a perfect card draw to try and kill that back lane, especially that I can heal that up to the maximum with the Rosebud. Probably not gonna do that because I have enough that's healing me. The leftover potions and the leaves, those are going to heal me by the time we go to that scenario. Get a pumpkin on the hollow as well, just to be as much of a nuisance as I can. 79 damage that he has to deal is an awkward number because the Kestrel doesn't do it, the Tiny Turtle doesn't do it. He has to go for a 2 damage course. Maybe the Nutcrack does it if he does draw it. This time he does draw it. The Shiba finally kills my front lane plant, so it's a 1-for-1 situation in turn number 12. My opponent also sitting on level 7, so he has played this game for a bit. And let's see what kind of cards we get. Carrot, just to get that extra energy, and then I can play all of my cards. Let's stack that shield on the mid lane, heal the back lane up, and then deal some extra damage with the series. I actually went for damage, a rune on my mid lane. The reason for that is because this one has plenty of damage cards. Actually 3 of them, but I need that damage somewhere. And mid lane is probably the best place to go for it. My front lane does have more damage cards, but I'd rather have it healing just so it can stay alive for that little bit longer. I get a Clover from my pumpkin. I always love seeing a Clover in my hand, knowing that I'm gonna get that extra leaf for the healing when people don't really play anti-heals at this stage is just puts a smile on my face. So this is the correct way to play this. Trunk or Hollow backlane, Clover front lane, so now he has to waste 2 or even 3 cards to try and clear those 2 summons, and if he doesn't get a good card draw, he will struggle to do that. Nutcrack, the Fallen Sword will do that. He didn't have to go for the Ronin, he could have went for the Fallen Sword and used the Ronin on my mid lane to deal some damage, but he does decide to go for the Tiny Turtle, which will disable my mid lane. Fortunately, I already used a couple of cards for my mid lane, so it shouldn't be that big of an issue. But we'll see what we can draw. We can draw a couple of Fallen Swords, actually a bunch of Fallen Swords and 2 burns. Terrible card draw, absolutely terrible card draw. 2 burns in my hand, and I head soon I'm gonna get hit from those burns. We'll see how much they do. It should be 16, but it's actually a little bit more than that. I'm not sure why they are hitting for 15 rather than 8, as it says in the description. He applies a vulnerable to me. That means the cards deal 20% extra damage. And my mid lane is going lower and lower. Now, he did use the Kestrel, which disables some of my cards as well. I cannot use attack abilities. So if I get a Croc, I can still put that on. And getting a Croc, it is helpful as always. I can go for the series from the back lane, put him down to 19 health. And now Croc. And Pumpkin, I can't actually play Pumpkin, so maybe putting that extra shield was better, but not sure about that. I know that he's going to die to the Blood Moon right now, so don't really have to worry about that. I can play the tiny turtle on my back lane, actually, rather than getting through this mid lane. I think that would have been a better play, just so he can set himself up better for the next round. Leaves himself on 12 HP, an awkward spot for me because I only have 2 damage dealing cards, and one of those cards is a confusion, but I did draw a fallen sword which has helped me to clear it. I can play a confusion on the back lane, use the fallen sword to clear that mid lane, and then play a hollow with a little bit of shield. Now we are at that stage of the game where his nutcracks deal a lot of damage. He does have the Ronin, the Shiba. He's playing a lot of damage on that beast, so this trunk is not an obstacle for him unless he gets a card draw like this where he has to use a little branch and a Ronin to clear it. I think he should have went for the little branch first and tried to get as much damage on my back lane using the Ronin. That was definitely a misplay. He's sitting on 6 stacks of Fury as well. I don't think he's gonna get that triggered because he doesn't have any rage cards that really help him. Only the Shiba. He's not gonna cycle through the Shiba twice this game. And I think with the confusion and with the fallen axe, as well as the Blood Moon damage, I am able to take this game down. So quite a long games. It kind of feels like this triple Rosebud triple series from the classic Axie Infinity, but it is what it is. I'm enjoying this team so far. It's getting me the wins. It's a little bit chilled to play, so I can just sit back and enjoy rather than stress about what I have to play. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you let me know in the comment section down below what do you think about this team and what other teams are currently broken in Axie Infinity Origin. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my YouTube channel for daily playthrough and content, and I will see you in the next one.